The $50 bill lay crumpled in Sarah Mitchell's palm, the last of her savings and the only thing standing between her and complete bankruptcy. She stared at George Washington's face, wondering if this would be the end of her story or its beginning. 6 years later, that same woman would stand in front of her empire, a nationwide comfort food brand valued at $12 million. This is the story of how $50, a grandmother's recipe book, and relentless determination transformed a desperate woman into one of the country's most successful food entrepreneurs. Want to discover how an ordinary woman turned her last $50 into a multi-million-dollar empire? Subscribe now to unlock the full story of grit, determination, and sweet success. Join thousands of readers who have found inspiration in Sarah's incredible journey from rock bottom to the top. Growing up in suburban Ohio, Sarah had always dreamed of more. Her parents worked multiple jobs to make ends meet, teaching her the value of hard work, but also showing her the struggles of living paycheck to paycheck. After losing her retail job during an economic downturn, Sarah found herself joining the ranks of the desperate, with just those $50 standing between her and complete financial ruin. One rainy evening, as she sorted through her possessions trying to find items to sell, Sarah discovered her grandmother's old recipe book. The pages were worn and stained, filled with handwritten notes about traditional family desserts. Her fingers traced the familiar handwriting, remembering the countless hours she spent in her grandmother's kitchen learning to bake. The sweet aroma of vanilla and cinnamon seemed to float from the pages, bringing tears to her eyes. That moment sparked something inside her. Sarah had always received compliments on her baking, especially her grandmother's secret cookie recipe that she had perfected over the years. People at church gatherings and neighborhood potlucks would always ask for more. But could she turn this skill into something profitable? With her last $50, Sarah made a decision that would change her life forever. Instead of paying her phone bill, she bought basic baking ingredients. Her hands shook as she handed over the money at the grocery store, knowing this could either be her salvation or her final mistake. In her tiny kitchen with barely functioning appliances, Sarah began baking. The first batch of cookies came out perfect, just as her grandmother had taught her. She packaged them carefully in simple plastic bags, tied with ribbon she found in her craft supplies. With a deep breath and determination in her heart, she walked to local coffee shops offering samples of her cookies. The first few rejections stung, but Sarah persisted. She knew her product was good. She had something special, something that reminded people of home and comfort. On her 7th attempt, a small, independent coffee shop owner took a bite of her cookie and smiled. That smile turned into her first order of 3 dozen cookies per week. Sarah worked through nights using her apartment's small oven to fulfill orders. She kept her day job as a waitress, saving every tip and spare dollar. The smell of fresh baked cookies filled her apartment complex, and soon neighbors started placing orders. Word spread slowly but surely about the woman who baked cookies that tasted like childhood memories. What made her different was not just the recipe, but the story she wrote on each package. A small note about her grandmother, about family traditions, about finding hope in desperate times. People were not just buying cookies, they were buying a piece of comfort, a taste of home, a moment of joy in their busy lives. By the end of her first month, Sarah had turned that $50 into $500. It was not much, but it was a beginning. She reinvested every penny, buying better ingredients and proper packaging. Her small customer base grew steadily, each satisfied customer telling friends and family about these special cookies that tasted like they came from Grandma's kitchen. Success arrived quietly at first. A mother bought cookies for her child's bake sale. The next week, 3 more parents called. Then a teacher ordered for a school event. Soon, Sarah's phone buzzed with messages from people she had never met. Her grandmother's cookies were bringing strangers together, creating a community bound by the taste of homemade comfort. But growth brought pain. Sarah's hands burned from endless hours of baking. Her tiny apartment kitchen became a prison of flour and sugar bags. Some nights, she slept only 2 hours trying to keep up with orders. Her day job as a waitress suffered. Dark circles formed under her eyes. The dream of success was becoming a nightmare of exhaustion. Then disaster struck. Her ancient oven broke down mid-bake, ruining an important order for a wedding. The repair would cost $400 she did not have. Sarah sat on her kitchen floor, surrounded by ruined cookies, fighting back tears. The thought of returning to just $50 haunted her. But quitting was not an option. She borrowed money from her parents, feeling like she had failed. But her father said something that changed her perspective. Sometimes you need help to help yourself grow. The repaired oven was not enough anymore. She needed to think bigger. Using her savings of $3,000 earned penny by penny, Sarah approached local restaurants about renting their kitchens during off hours. Many turned her down. Some laughed at her business plan. The rejections stung, reminding her of those first days selling door to door. Finally, a small Italian restaurant owner offered his kitchen from midnight to 6 a.m. The professional kitchen terrified her. Industrial mixers and ovens loomed like giants. Sarah spent hours learning each machine, burning several batches, crying over wasted ingredients. But slowly, she mastered the equipment. Her grandmother's recipe needed adjusting for larger batches. Each failed attempt ate into her savings, but she kept detailed notes, learning from every mistake. Quality became her obsession. Even with larger ovens, she tested each batch personally. Some customers complained the cookies were different from her home-baked ones. Sarah spent weeks perfecting her recipe for the bigger ovens, refusing to sacrifice the taste that made her cookies special. She slept in the kitchen some nights, testing and retesting, until every cookie matched her grandmother's standard. Her first employee was Mary, a single mother who needed flexible hours. Training someone else scared Sarah. These were her grandmother's recipes, her legacy. The first time Mary baked alone, Sarah paced outside the kitchen, checking every batch. But Mary brought her own magic to the process, suggesting improvements to the packaging that customers loved. Running a real business meant learning hard lessons. Health inspections, tax forms, insurance. Each new requirement felt like a mountain to climb. Some weeks after paying all expenses, Sarah made less than she did waiting tables, but the business grew steadily. Local shops began stocking her cookies. A corporate office ordered monthly deliveries for meetings. By the end of her first year, Sarah's business had generated over $100,000 in revenue. The profit was small, but she had built something real from that initial $50. She moved to a tiny but clean apartment, one without cockroaches. Her parents cried when she paid back their loan with interest. The business cards she ordered still felt strange in her hands. They read, "Sarah's Comfort Cookies, a taste of home in every bite." The email arrived at 2:47 a.m. while Sarah counted damaged cookies from a failed batch. Midwest Fresh, a premium grocery chain with 300 stores across 5 states, wanted her cookies. Sarah read the email 10 times, her trembling hands holding the phone that would transform her small business into an empire. Her mind raced with numbers. Each store could sell thousands of units monthly. This was not just an opportunity. This was her path to millions. The meeting with Mrs. Anderson, the head buyer, revealed staggering possibilities. Initial order of 10,000 units per week, with projected growth to 50,000 within 6 months, Mrs. Anderson stated. Sarah's current weekly production of 2,000 suddenly seemed tiny. The potential revenue made her dizzy. At $4 per package, this single contract could generate over $10 million annually. The path to funding tested her resolve daily. 13 banks rejected her loan application. Each rejection felt like a personal attack. "Too risky," they said. "Not enough business history." "No major assets." Sarah kept every rejection letter, using them as fuel for her determination. Finally, First State Bank saw her vision, offering a $500,000 loan. The interest rate was high, but Sarah knew this was her only chance at scaling. Finding the right facility became a month-long journey. Sarah visited 20 properties. Some had mold problems, others lacked proper ventilation. Many needed extensive renovations she could not afford. The search drained her savings and spirits until she discovered a defunct commercial bakery 30 miles outside the city. The 20,000 square foot space needed work, but the bones were good. The monthly overhead equaled her entire previous year's profit. Equipment costs shocked her. Industrial mixers cost $50,000 each. Conveyor belt ovens ran into hundreds of thousands. Sarah spent sleepless nights adjusting spreadsheets, trying to make the numbers work. She sold her car, took a second mortgage on her small house. Every penny went into building her dream. The hiring process brought new challenges. Sarah interviewed 60 people to find her first 10 employees. Training them tested her patience and leadership skills. Maria, an experienced baker, questioned her methods. "This is not how commercial bakeries work," she said. Sarah stood firm. "We are not just any commercial bakery." She spent weeks teaching them her grandmother's techniques, showing how small details made their cookies special. Production problems emerged daily. The first large test batch burned because the new ovens heated differently. Sarah and her team worked 36 hours straight, adjusting temperatures and timing. A shipment of vanilla arrived contaminated, forcing them to discard a week's worth of ingredients. The supplier refused to refund, creating a $20,000 loss. Quality control became her obsession. Sarah implemented a computer system tracking temperature, humidity, and baking time for every batch. The system cost $100,000, money she could barely afford, but it allowed them to replicate her grandmother's recipe perfectly, even at large scale. Every employee had to pass her personal taste test before working unsupervised. The packaging line created unexpected problems. Machines designed for standard cookies struggled with her thicker, softer products. Cookies broke during packaging. Sarah worked with engineers modifying equipment until they found solutions. The modifications cost another $50,000, but the results were worth it. Employee dynamics shifted as the company grew. Sarah hired experienced managers from larger food companies. Their corporate mindset clashed with her family business culture. Some pushed for artificial ingredients to cut costs. Others wanted to eliminate the handwritten notes. Sarah called an all-hands meeting. "Our success comes from being different," she told them. "We sell memories, not just cookies." The first major crisis hit 3 weeks before the Midwest Fresh launch. Their main ingredient supplier doubled prices without warning. Sarah's profit margins would vanish at the new rates. Instead of compromising on quality, she drove to local restaurant supply stores, buying ingredients at retail prices. Her team worked double shifts, keeping production going while she frantically searched for new suppliers. A small family-owned flour mill saved them, offering premium ingredients at fair prices. Transportation logistics nearly broke her. Delivering fresh cookies to 300 stores required precise timing and temperature control. The first delivery to Midwest Fresh proved disastrous. 2,000 cookies arrived broken. Sarah personally drove through the night, delivering fresh batches to 3 different stores. Store managers watched in surprise as the owner herself stocked shelves at midnight. Competitors noticed her success. Golden Bakeries, a national brand, offered to buy her company for $12 million. The offer letter sat on her desk for a week. Sarah remembered her grandmother saying, "Money does not build empires, dreams do." She declined the offer and instead launched 3 new product lines, expanding into brownies, muffins, and specialty holiday treats. The expansion strained every resource. Sarah opened a second production facility to handle growing demand. Training new teams while maintaining quality pushed her to exhaustion, but orders kept growing. Regional grocery chains wanted exclusive contracts. National retailers called daily. Monthly revenue crossed $2 million. Success brought unexpected challenges. Copycats emerged, mimicking her packaging and story. Social media critics questioned if her cookies were still handmade. Sarah responded with transparency, installing webcams in her facilities. Customers could watch their cookies being made in real time. The marketing campaign cost $500,000 but strengthened customer trust. Year-end numbers proved Sarah's gamble had paid off. Annual revenue topped $24 million. Her company employed over 200 people across 3 production facilities. The business valued at $15 million. That original $50 investment had multiplied 300,000 times. By the 4th year of operation, Sarah's comfort cookies became a phenomenon that business schools studied. Harvard Business Review featured her story. MBA students wrote case studies about her growth model. The company that started with $50 now generated annual revenues of $75 million. But Sarah focused on a different number, the 3,000 families her business now supported through direct employment and supplier partnerships. National expansion brought waves of opportunity and challenge. Walmart's purchasing director arrived unannounced at her office. His offer stunned Sarah, $30 million annually for nationwide distribution. Target followed with their own premium partnership worth $20 million. Within months, Sarah's products appeared in airports, hotels, and gift shops across America. Her company's market value soared past $100 million. Product innovation became crucial for growth. Sarah established a research and development team, investing $5 million in a state-of-the-art test kitchen. They created seasonal flavors, gluten-free options, and sugar-free varieties for diabetic customers. Each new product underwent 3 months of testing, ensuring it met her grandmother's standards for taste and quality. The empire grew beyond cookies. Sarah launched Comfort Kitchens, a chain of retail bakeries that recreated the welcoming atmosphere of her grandmother's kitchen. Each location featured glass walls where customers could watch bakers at work. The first store opened in Chicago with lines stretching around the block. Within 18 months, 30 locations operated across the country, generating an additional $40 million in revenue. Employee welfare remained her priority. Sarah introduced profit sharing, distributing 10% of annual profits among workers. The company provided full health coverage, childcare assistance, and educational support. When a long-time employee's house burned down, Sarah organized a company-wide effort to rebuild it. These actions created fierce loyalty. Her employee retention rate reached 97%. Success allowed Sarah to innovate in unexpected ways. She created an entrepreneur mentorship program, investing $10 million to help other small food businesses. The program provided not just funding, but also access to her production facilities during off hours. She remembered her own midnight baking sessions and wanted to give others the same chance she had. The company culture evolved while maintaining its heart. Every new employee spent their first day baking cookies using her grandmother's original recipe. Corporate meetings began with taste testing sessions. Sarah installed small home-style kitchens in every facility break room, encouraging employees to experiment with recipes and share their creations. International opportunities arrived with complexity. A Middle Eastern investment group offered $200 million for worldwide licensing rights. European distributors promised guaranteed minimum orders worth $50 million annually. The numbers dazzled her team, but Sarah proceeded cautiously. She allowed only selective international expansion, ensuring each new market maintained the brand's personal touch. Technology transformed her operations while preserving tradition. Sarah invested $30 million in automated systems that could replicate her grandmother's baking techniques perfectly. Scientists analyzed the original recipe, creating a proprietary process that maintained homemade quality at industrial scale. But in every facility, test kitchens still used the original handwritten recipe cards. Environmental responsibility became a core focus. Sarah converted all facilities to solar power, installed water recycling systems, and implemented zero-waste policies. The company developed biodegradable packaging, though it cost 30% more than traditional options. These initiatives reduced their carbon footprint by 60%, while inspiring other food manufacturers to follow suit. Her grandmother's legacy lived on in unexpected ways. Sarah established the Hope Foundation with a $40 million endowment. The foundation provided scholarships for culinary students and supported food banks nationwide. Every Christmas, the company distributed 1 million free cookies to homeless shelters, each with a message of hope. Community impact expanded beyond charity. Each production facility partnered with local schools, offering apprenticeships and job training. Sarah created a program helping former inmates re-enter the workforce through bakery training. These initiatives won national recognition, including the Presidential Medal for Corporate Responsibility. The company's influence reached beyond business. Sarah testified before Congress about small business development. Her story inspired changes in bank lending policies for women entrepreneurs. Business schools created scholarships in her name, focusing on food industry innovation and sustainable business practices. Looking back at her journey, Sarah kept the original $50 bill framed in her office. Her company, now valued at over $200 million, employed thousands and shipped products to 23 countries. But true wealth, she discovered, came from the letters she received daily. Stories of her cookies bringing comfort to hospital rooms, celebrating graduations, or simply brightening difficult days. In interviews, Sarah always emphasized one message. Success is not about the millions you make. It is about the lives you touch. Her empire proved that with determination, integrity, and a willingness to keep trying, $50 could change not just one life, but millions of them. Every cookie still carried the essence of that first batch baked in her tiny apartment. Now, instead of one woman fighting desperation, an empire of believers carried forward a simple truth. Sometimes all you need is $50 and an unwavering belief in your dreams to build something extraordinary. Want to discover more incredible stories of ordinary people achieving extraordinary success? Subscribe to our channel now and join thousands of ambitious dreamers on their journey to greatness. From $50 startups to million-dollar empires, each week brings you inspiring tales that prove success is within your reach. Hit the subscribe button below to never miss an episode and click the notification bell to be the first to hear these life-changing stories. Your next business inspiration could be just one story away. Join our growing family of success seekers today and let us help you write your own remarkable journey to the top.